changing the way we think and how we live our lives is one step in the right direction.
Welcome to Be Well Berkshires. I am your host, James J. Willis. I am the administrator of the Be Well Berkshires Community Initiative. Be Well Berkshires is a mass emotion initiative that is designed to promote policies and programs to foster healthier lifestyles. What does that mean? Well, it means that we want you to eat better, move more, and be well. The format of this show is to speak with community members on what is going on in our community regarding health and wellness activities and to bring that information to you. I want to welcome today's guest, Amanda Chilson, who is the Northern Berkshire Community Coalition's Mass Emotion Project Coordinator. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
That's a lot of words in your title. So, Amanda, you've been with Northern Berkshire Community Coalition for a couple of years now, kind of leading the Mass Emotion Initiative up in North Berkshire County. And we're constantly reading what you're doing up in North County. And I think one of the recent initiatives you have going on is the Mayoral Fitness Challenge. First of all, tell us a little bit about you, how you got to the position,
Sure.
And then we can kind of talk about the really exciting initiative you've been working on.
Sure. So I'm going into my third year at the Northern Berkshire Community Coalition. I actually went to a volunteer opportunity about keep farming, so about keeping food local and how can we grow that food source. And it turned into a pretty big initiative, but from there I met a few people that worked at the coalition, and then like, oh, hey, by the way, I know that you're really into health and wellness, and you just moved back to the area. You know, you should check out this job post. So I did, and I applied, and I got the position. So I was really excited about that. And then from there, it was just about starting with a coalition. I went on a lot of what they called listening tours. They kind of directed me towards some certain people that were involved in some way of health and wellness. And then just continuing the networking piece, and then from that focusing on the 6 different initiatives.
You're from the area originally,
yes,
North
born
Adams.
And raised in North Adams.
You left and you came back to the Berkshires, which is always a good thing when we see our young people work their way back to Berkshire County, because it's it's an aging population, and we're trying to keep our younger people here.
Absolutely.
We have a good mix of community members. So welcome back.
Thank you.
When you did leave, come back. So the Mayoral Fitness Challenge, I read something the other day, the kind of the conclusion, but that's been going on for some time, and kudos to Mayor Alkenbright for taking a lead role. And I think when you see leaders at that level of government to really put their foot down, take a step forward, really help with an initiative like that, really sends a strong message, down to the granular level of the community.
Right.
What is the Mayoral Fitness Challenge?
Sure. So it was a 10-week challenge, and hopes to help people lead healthier lifestyles or enhance those healthy lifestyles that they may already be living. And so we decided to focus ours, since as Mass in Motion really trying to focus on the policy, behavioral, environmental changes, we really tried to focus ours and how do we create a sustainable habitual behavior around being healthy. So it was either you could sign up as a team or an individual. And with that, upon signing up, what that meant is you were now going to be a part of this 10-week challenge. You're going to receive a tracker, so you could track your points. And you receive points from either eating vegetables, eating fruit, drinking water, or any type of physical activity for 30 minutes, whether you broke up the 30 minutes by 3/10s, whether you did a consistent half hour, whatever. And then we provided everybody with calendars. And so what we did is we partnered with a variety of people in the area that offer different fitness opportunities, different physical activity opportunities, or different nutritional opportunities. We have a lot of people that teach nutritional workshops, so they offered those for free a few times throughout the challenge. And then we also teamed up with certain restaurants or different eateries, food establishments that offered. We had like Mayor Challenge of the Week smoothies. So they had fruits and vegetables, and so you get points if you went there. You could get points if you drank the smoothie. We had a restaurant that offered a certain kind of salad with a lot of different vegetables, and it was marked on the menu, the Mayor's Fitness Challenge. So they just kind of made a lot of partnering happening, so people could see in the community how they could really bring themselves into the community to be healthier. And then we also had places like Frog Lotus, Zumba in the Berkshires, the YMCA, NA Fitness with Best, just different people that provided at least one free class a month. So when you looked at that calendar, you had at least 4 opportunities to be fit, to be physical in some way during that week. And a variety, we also want to think of, there's a lot of different people, a lot of different abilities and levels, in that, whether it's just going for a walk, whether it's going to a Zumba class. So we wanted to make sure that people had the opportunity and they were doing things that they could continue on after the challenge. We also had different opportunities to walk the walking loop, to hike different trails, so people could see what we have, in North Adams, Clarksburg, surrounding North Berkshire area.
And how many people do you say are were part of that mayor's?
We had about
by the photos, it seemed like a lot.
600 people that signed up for the challenge, and then we had a smaller amount that actually turned in their trackers, towards the end. But I mean, you were constantly, you were at the supermarket and you'd hear people talking about it. You were, and that was the hope. The hope wasn't necessarily to be really diligent about like everyday tracking and making sure you counted this and counted that, but really that it was in your mind, that when you looked at your grocery cart, you saw things like, I heard a lot of people say, yep, I'm doing the fitness challenge, so I have to get my veggies in, and I really wanted to eat this, but instead I had vegetables because I don't get a point for cookies, but I get a point for vegetables. So that was like kind of the mindset behind it, was to really build that awareness, and I think that definitely happened.
So was there like a first place, second place, third place at the end?
Yeah.
How'd that work?
We actually did just a big overall first place. We did a team, so you could sign up as a team or individual. So one team won, whoever had the most points. What we did for teams, we had people average out their points. So it wasn't like one team could get thousands and thousands and thousands of points. So if you had 9 people on your team, you took the total points and you averaged them out. Even if you had 2 people on your team, you did the same thing. So we had one team that won, we had an individual that won, and then we did what we decided kind of towards the end was an overall winner, overall point winner. So whoever at the entire challenge had the most points, no matter if they were on a team, whether they signed up by themselves. So we had different people. Again, when we gave prizes, we tried to have them be health and wellness. Like we were able to give an hour massage. We got a donation for an hour massage, which again is all about being healthy and things like that as well. So we really tried to think of that kind of. We had some YMCA memberships that were given to some people, so they can continue on that path as well.
It's really nice. It really brings a community together, and hopefully, at least a percentage of those folks that were part of the 10-week challenge move on to to keep that going, because that's really what it's all about, and really try to offer as many of these health and wellness initiatives in the community, so people start to make those lifestyle changes, because that's what will make you live longer, make you feel better, and working together within the community. I think that's like really awesome. So. And
the fun part that we did bonus points, and that's how we really tried to incorporate the community as well. So if you went as a team to some community event, you got bonus points. If you attended the Walking Loop kickoff, you got bonus points. So we try to like strategically think of specific community things. You don't have to go with your team all the time, but you had to go and attend. And we have Down Street Art on every fourth Thursday or whatever, but you walk around. In order to see the art, you have to walk from place to place. So we really try to incorporate that too.
And I think competition brings the best out in all of us, because we do. You see the Berkshire Medical Center. They do the walk with me, and people they have teams and they compete with each other. And I think competition definitely can bring out the healthy in us. That's for sure. And congratulations with that initiative.
Thanks.
I know it got really good reviews. It was covered well with local media, and hopefully we're able to see more of that as we move forward. Maybe we can get a mayoral fitness challenge between the city of Pittsfield and North Adams. I think that would be pretty interesting to see. Maybe as the fall approaches. But but you've been very active in all your communities that you're covering, and you cover Adams, North Adams, and Clarksburg with the funding that you receive. And I remember reading something a while ago about Clarksburg, about a bike to school program, and something about they actually had a policy that you couldn't bike to school. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
They did. I know they did. They had a no bike to school policy. So just, it's been, I think, 20 years or so since anybody was able to bike to school. And so, the neat thing was, it was students that just approached the principal and said, why? And her mouth dropped, because she's like, I don't know. It's just one of those things you just kept passing on, the policy, you just kind of kept passing on as you went through. So she kind of stopped and thought about it, and she's like, I don't know why. I don't know why we couldn't do this. And then that was shortly after her and I had just met as well and talked about what I was doing. And so, she said it kind of worked out with the opportunity that we have to create a program with help, with funding, with resources, technical assistance.
Right. Now, has that policy been since retracted now? Is it still in place, or
so they? In the sense of, it's not yet. They haven't opened it up to say, hey, you can bike to school whenever you want. If a child showed up on their bike, they're not going to turn you away at the same time. So right now we're working on like 3 to 4 bike to school days per year at Clarksburg. And then at the same time, what she really wants to see is she's trying to increase the bikeability throughout the community, because she would feel a little bit safer if there was some more infrastructure around it. So whether it be some sharrows painted, whether it be some signage done. So they've created a really awesome partnership with the town, which is huge. The school and the town not necessarily like we're enemies by any means, but they're working, more in sync together now.
Right.
So she's really trying to get the town to help with that, whether it be including it in grants that they write. She's not like looking for them to necessarily use their funding because, the whole funding is always an issue. But to maybe be thinking about it in some of the grants that they write or some of the way that they can kind of share, those signs would make sense.
Yeah, and I think that's really what it's all about, whether it's a Be Well Berkshires initiative or Northern Berkshire Community Initiative. Mass in Motion is all about environmental systems and policy change. Healthy eating, physical activity, and if we're able to come up with a sustainable yet practical approach to get our community members to eat better, bike to school, walk to school, that's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
And grants don't last forever,
Right.
and we need to figure out ways to keep the momentum going. And years ago when we worked with schools, and you had a teacher that was really active, that they did a walking school bus with the kids. That's something that they did above and beyond what their normal duty as a teacher.
Right.
When that teacher retired, or they made cutbacks, those programs kind of fizzled away. And so we need to, the things that you're doing and some of the things we're doing in South County, they need to be practical yet sustainable. And I think all the work that you're doing up there is really, really great.
Thanks.
You made a lot of impact up there. And so what else is going on? What else are you working on up in North County?
We just actually recently had maybe it's been a month now actually, our walking loop kickoff. So in North Adams, we have 2 marked loops. One's a purple, one's an orange. We're right now working on brochures that will include maps and a few different establishments that are located along those loops. They'll also have some tips on walkability, what's safe walking, to help, with pedestrians in that sense, and also benefits of walking as well. So with those loop marked, we're just kind of, again, it's fun because you hear different people, oh, hey, I walked the loop today. We really try to incorporate that into the challenge too to keep them going. We also thought of different ideas coming up in the late summer, early fall of just either events along the loops and things like that to keep them going. So it's been a huge bonus. I'm also working with the Council on Aging as well to kind of think about how do we create like an intergenerational, health and wellness as well. How do we think of our children, and how do we think of our older adults in the community? That makes it a healthy place across the board.
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting as well. The healthy market piece, that's an even bigger policy. You have a lot of corporations you're working with, so you get to talk to one person, but then that person has to take that a little bit farther and farther and farther. So right now we're focusing on Cumberland Farms, and we've gotten some great feedback as well. And then the farmers market too has been phenomenal. We incorporate that to the fitness challenge. You got extra points if you ate local fruits and vegetables as well. And we felt that was an okay thing to do because at the farmers market we're really trying to build the accessibility and equitability for everyone. So we have the SNAP times 2 program. So if anybody swipes their SNAP, which used to be food stamps, card at the farmers market, they will receive double the amount. So if they swipe it for 10, they'll receive $20 to spend at the market.
Nice.
So we created some really neat promotional postcards that show step 1, step 2, step 3 of how to do it. Here's the tent that you go to, here's the tokens, here's what your food cart, really kind of drawing it out for people because we've heard, through feedback, it's some of, well, I'm very unfamiliar with the market, I don't know what to do, and that can be intimidating for some people.
Yeah, and I think there's always been this thing about eating fresh and local is more expensive than going to the grocery store. And I think farmers markets have really evolved.
Yes.
From 20 years ago to where they are now. I mean, they just revived the Pittsfield Farmers Market. It's very active, a lot of participation. And I know the North Adams Farmers Market has been very active for quite some time. It's at a perfect location. It's downtown. There's parking, and I think we really need to promote eating local is better because well, at least we know where the food products are coming from. Because the food web, we were talking earlier before the show, it's a complex system with with all the hormones and all the preservatives, and you're getting a head of lettuce from another country that is being handled by 30 different people with all the recalls, and I think farmers markets and gaining access to all levels of community members, from the young children to teach them how to work on a farm, and if it's in the backyard and how to deal with that, how to eat healthier, to as you advance in high school and in college and as you get older, we need to make these changes so we're not reinventing the wheel again, trying to teach people
Right.
that should be eating healthier for many years how to
Right.
start over again.
Yeah.
And I think as we start to make those changes in the community, and I think farmers markets, locally grown, healthy eating, corner stores, I'm really intrigued by the whole retail corner store initiative because, you know, in the retail environment, you know, we're talking tobacco,
Yeah.
we're talking,
a
you
great
know, snacks and smoothies, and I would assume that the stores, they put out there what is popular, what
Right.
sells. So you're sort of going against the grain to make those policy changes.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, have you seen some, you know, is it getting easier working with some of these corner stores? And I know you say
Yeah.
you're working with Cumberland Farms.
Yeah.
Is it really challenging to try to convince them to start to offer the unpopular
Right.
choice?
Yeah, totally. And it's actually, I mean, I think a big reason I chose Cumberland Farms is because almost like a low-hanging fruit in the sense of I knew that the store manager was into the health piece, but sometimes it is a little trickier with corporations. So, and going in there, they already have apples, bananas, oranges. You know, they already had some produce they were selling. I saw some low-fat yogurt in there. So I just kind of did some observations in some of the different stores, and I saw that they were already having some of those options. So the reason I, you know, decided to go with them first is how can I help them promote them to make them be popular? You know, what type of program can we have in that store that offers people some type of incentive to want to purchase healthy? And eventually I feel like sometimes you need that external incentive in order to have it become more of an internal incentive, like, wow, I'm feeling a lot better, or this is so great, you know, these eggs go a lot longer than this bag of chips, or, you know, just little things that you might not know right away, but if you're incentivized to do it, you're kind of like, well, I might as well do it. You know, same thing at the farmer's market. You're incentivized to almost go there because you can stretch your, you know, your SNAP dollars a little bit longer, and then eventually it might become more of an innate behavior because now you're enjoying how you feel, you're enjoying what you're eating, you're enjoying things like that. But so with Cumberland Farms, and then when we took it to the district manager level, same type of thing. He, very progressive person, really interested in it, really into it. Same thing when he took it to the state. It's just because it is corporate, how do we maybe create something that's going to happen not only just in our North Adams, Cumberland Farms, but, you know, here in, you know, in Pittsfield and in South County, and then maybe even a little bit farther out. So, you know, I just brought up the possibility of maybe, you know, I'm happy to initiate a conference call with all of the coordinators that have healthy markets with Cumberland Farms in your area. So it can kind of be somewhat similar across the board. So if you ate here and you ate in Eastern Mass at Cumberland Farms, you see the same decal, you see the same signs hanging in the store.
Right. Yeah, and that takes leadership too. You know, it is,
And time.
It takes a lot of leadership to make those changes. It's really interesting. It's because you know, you're talking about incentives. You know, it's part of what you and I do, and Karen and many others. You know, we work with restaurants and corner stores and farmers markets, and you know, most of what we do, we receive grant funding for.
Right.
You know, it's not funded by the municipalities. It's not privately funded.
Right.
And incentives are always a challenging thing because there's not a lot of money there for
Right.
it. It's not sustainable. And one thing we learned early on, years ago, when we started the healthy dining options, is, you know, we didn't want restaurants signing on solely because of the incentives. And I think you definitely have to market yourself in health and wellness in a particular way. You know, hope is that we have, you know, corner store, we keep saying corner stores,
Right.
but retail stores, in, you know, restaurants that want to do the right thing, and we come up with creative ways,
Right.
you know, of incentives. You know,
Yeah.
getting them on TV shows, trying to get earned media for them.
Right.
You know, to get the community to recognize that restaurant A, B, or corner store C or D.
Right.
You know, they live and work in the community. They hire people from the community.
Right.
They're part of the foundation of that particular community, so they should do the right thing and stuff. So it's really interesting how the corner
and I
markets
think the
are going.
incentive is also more for the customer, like you say too. I think like for Cumberland Farms, they realize they'd be the first Cumberland Farms in Berkshire County that would be going on this healthy, you know, so their incentive is obvious. It's the meaty piece. And you said, like you said too, both the store manager and the district manager were excited about the fact that they enjoy this. Their passion is about the health and wellness as a personal passion. So to be able to help promote it to their customers as well. And then for the incentive for the customers to want to purchase those healthy options is sometimes, like you say, you get creative, like right there within the store.
Yeah, and I think healthy eating and active living, it's gaining a lot of momentum. You know, we're talking about health and wellness and chronic diseases. How do we manage that? You know, self-care. You know, eating better. We talk all that stuff. And I tell you, it's really I've never seen something this popular nationwide that everyone's talking about health and wellness. I wish
Yeah.
everyone talked about anti-tobacco.
Right.
We've been working on anti-tobacco for many years. We're still,
Right.
we're still trying to convince people that it's harmful to your health.
Yeah.
But I've really, with the schools and with Massachusetts have new regulations on healthier choices in the schools. So I think if you get a savvy owner that recognizes that,
Right.
and they tailor to that certain type of population that's going into the store, going into the restaurant, asking for food choices, or if they have an allergy or they have gluten-free. And what I'm seeing now is we have a handful of restaurants and stores that are sort of the foundation of a healthy dining program. But I think we're starting to see the community want more and more healthier food choices. Because I'll tell you, the more we don't eat out a lot because I have 2 little kids at home.
Right.
But when we do go out, I'm seeing more options on menus.
Yes.
I'm seeing more availability. They're marketing a menu in a different way, and I think owners are tailoring, their menus
Absolutely.
and their business to meet the demands of people that want healthier food choices. So, and I think everything that we're doing is one step in the right direction in making those changes. In North Adams, to kind of talk about what's going on in North Adams a little bit. There's definitely been some challenges going on up there with the closing of the hospital. And I know, Northern Berkshire Community Coalition, which you're housed out of, have been doing a lot of great work working with community. And I think, what are your thoughts about that? And do you think the community is coming together more now than ever with all the challenging things going on up there versus what you saw before? Are you seeing a difference in participation and more of a community bond with all the issues going on up in there?
Yeah, I think like you said too, I think the whole bringing the community together, I think that's absolutely, happening. And I think anytime there's kind of that fallout or there's that missing void, you see people flock together to maybe either replace or find that new place where people can, can gather and become, fill in that hole, fill in that gap. But one piece that really struck me that I think it helps to bring out is the need for prevention. Now more than ever that we don't have necessarily a full running hospital at this point, I think the greater it is that we need that prevention, the greater it is that we need to tell people, you can prevent yourself from having to make the drive or having to frequent the hospital through what you're eating and through your physical activity levels. And it's not for everyone by any means, and we're not throwing this whole big thing at them, but just by making a few small choices to start and to build yourself back up again can prevent some of the reasons that you may have to frequent that hospital.
Yeah, and I think stress levels are high,
right.
Whether it's a financial income issue or loss of job, and you're just stressed out trying to figure out, exercise is probably the least least important thing on your mind. But you do go out for that 3-mile walk or that 1-mile walk or even that walking around the block a couple times. It makes you feel better.
But what a great stress reducer too at the same time.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important too.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. Yeah. And exactly. I mean, I think that there are some people that have some bigger things that they're thinking of. But in the meantime, if this is something that you can, be thinking of a small, you need to be also like we had a great person at one of our coalition forums that talked about here's some of the things you've been doing for yourself while we're figuring out this whole hospital piece, because you also need to take care of yourself, especially for the employees that might have lost their position. It's really important, and no better way to care for yourself than be mindful of what you're eating and some of the things that you're doing. But I think as a community at large, we really need to be focused on the prevention level, right now with the state that we're at.
And hopefully things get better. But that's all these communities. I mean, I've seen it. I'm a resident of Pittsfield. Every time we have a family that they're removed from their home, whether it's a fire or there's a fundraiser. Communities that's what we do. We come together as a community and we try to solve the issues and. And North Adams will find its way, and I think all the work that you're doing up there is fantastic. And we do have a few minutes left. Okay. So what's going on in Adams? I know they have a farmers market up in Adams now. Now, did they not have a farmers market before?
No, we originated the farmers. Well, they had one a while ago, and I guess it was small, and then it slowly dispersed. And there was like 1 or 2 farmers left, and then it kind of disappeared. And so it's been a few years, and the town administrator really wanted to get that back up and running again. But obviously a lot of other things are going on when you're a town administrator. It's hard to do. So I offered an intern from Williams, and the two of us worked together to have we called it a pilot market last year. just to really get feedback, to let people know, like, does this space work, does this time work, to really kind of get a sense for, in the community of what they needed, what they wanted. And so we had a great, very successful pilot market last year for about probably 14 weeks or so. So this year they hired a director of tourism who also was the farmers market manager. So her and I met a few times. She took the resources, materials, and ran with it, and they had their opening day Sunday, and she said they had 12 vendors there, they had over 100 people there, they had music there, their Facebook page is flourishing. I mean, it's fantastic.
Facebook page flourishing.
I know.
Social media plays a big
Tons of
part of
likes.
what's going on. I think everyone, whether it's Twitter and Facebook,
I know. It's a way to reach people now.
creating events, it's a really good thing. So, what? Any last thoughts on what's going on you want to talk to the viewers about, or?
I think we touched upon, there's definitely a lot going on. Definitely check out the Coalition website, Northern Berkshire Community Coalition website. There's, you can follow us, or on Facebook to see more of what's going on. But I think that, us also working together has been really fun too, kind of getting to know, kind of combining some of the forces between Central, South, and North is. Yeah,
and hopefully we'll be doing more work together and whatnot, and looking at healthy dining options, farmers markets. There seems to be a farmers market in every community now.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know there's one in Lee now. We have the Pittsfield one that's been revamped, and that's been in several locations. That seems to be working out.
Yeah.
And I know there's one in Great Barrington, and the more farmers markets we can get, the more we can support locally grown farms. I think is really interesting. CSA, the community shares are becoming a hot thing now, where people are investing to help sustain some of the farms, and
the farm to table piece too. The farm, the local foods into restaurants is also
it's really
growing.
Important. So how can people get a hold of you?
Sure. So I have an email, achilson@nbccoalition.org. And you can also call the Coalition at 413-663-7588.
Oh, Amanda, well, thank you for taking time out of your super busy schedule to come on the show and talk about what's going on. It's much appreciated.
Absolutely.
So
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to Be Well Berkshires. I am your host, Jim Willis. Thanks for taking the time to watch us today. Stay tuned on what's going on more in your community on health and wellness activities. Thank you.